Hello guys, Sujara speaking from a different location. Fortunately, we'll have this webcam from a different time because I just have to use it for some reasons. One, I'm on I'll probably at the thing with the desk at Morgan's house right now, and two, I'll probably have to do it anyway. But anyways, welcome to LJPCBM 1877, and today we're reacting to Jake's Having Nostalgia Show, episode 12 on Gary LeRoi Gray. Now, Cosby Show, Even Stevens, Very Odd Parents, Clifford the Big Red Dog. I can go on. Anyways, let's react to this. Begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, I'm Jake and welcome to Jake's Having Nostalgia Show. A podcast where me and my friends talk about nostalgic moments and pop culture from our childhood. Issues such as actors, producers, puppeteers, and more. We'll be sharing our favorite memories about behind-the-scenes moments and so much more. I'm your host, Jake and welcome to this Jake's Having Nostalgia Show episode.
Good.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Jake's Having Nostalgia Show. I'm your host Jake, and I'm our co-host, Chris Bixby and Ryan McCullough. How are you guys?
Good.
Very awesome. So, let's talk about like a minute with our last guest.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was amazing.
Yeah, so what she was, okay, I'm gonna say this start off about her for the last episode. Wendy Callio. Who played Nina on Manchester Movers. She's a great person. We have so much fun for talking to her and everything what she's done. And since she mentioned this, I can say this that very soon she'll be back on being an actor. So we're really excited for that.
Yeah. Yes. And there's an announcement for me. I have Twitter, but
Yeah. If you guys want to follow Wyatt, you can
be in the description.
Yep, on Twitter.
Unfortunately, it's now called X, but yeah, if you watch Wyatt, now that Twitter, the X is now called X, but thanks to Elon Musk, but who cares, right? Continue on.
Description and same as as ours, and every single, you guys should know what it is every single episode, so I don't need to mention much things at all. Anyway, so this guest we have this episode, he is an actor that, from my childhood, that he voiced one of the kids of OG Clipper Show. We're not talking about the reboot. We talk about the OG Clipper Show, which is named Charlie, and he's a person who did the voice. And also, Chris, what did he also do?
So for me, because I grew up watching Disney Channel like all the time, he played the character Nelson on the second season of Even Stevens. It was also on other shows like Rocket Power.
That. I have not. I branch out of Rocket Power after all this is over, but this is the reason why I have not seen Rocket Power in recent months, because I've been busy trying to figure out what to do next. I've watched The Weekenders, and this is all I can think about. And people thought, you can watch Rocket Power. I'm like, seriously? Continue on.
Fairly Odd Parents, ton of great stuff.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we talk about this a little later on, because and we can talk about what the show was and what he's a part of.
There's certain stereotypes.
Oh yeah, that too. Anyways, here he is. His name is Gary Gray. How are you, Gary?
I'm doing wonderful, guys. How are you?
We're good.
We're
Thanks
great.
for asking.
Good. Thank you.
He just changed his voice for some reason. Very nifty. Continue on anyway.
For having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, of course.
Welcome.
12 guests.
Yeah, 12 guests.
Nice.
Wow.
Very cool.
We haven't acknowledged so
much.
Well, I appreciate it either way, no matter what the number.
Yep.
no matter what.
Well, thank you so much with the support. So We appreciate that, and same as for Chris and Wyatt also. Anyways, let's start off with a simple question here. How do you start that you want to pursue career like, being an actor, for example?
Well, I was very, I guess you could say advanced for my age at the wee age of 2 years old.
Wait, is that a Green Samurai or Samurai Ranger? Because I met Jason Dare Frank in November 2021 in person, and as a Black Dino Ranger. And it's a sad thing that Jason Dare Frank is no longer with us, but he's just gonna be releasing with the White Dragon. But that's something it wasn't behind Gary LeRoi's great background. Like, good God, it's gonna be happening. Continue on. Anyway,
I was talking, reading, writing, just everything, and driving my parents crazy. And it got to the point where they were just like, we have to do something. Like, he has to be into something because he's just driving us nuts in the house. And I eventually got put into print modeling. And I'm from Chicago. And in Chicago at the time, in the late 80s, print modeling was very, very big. It was really huge. So it got to the point where I got sort of noticed in the print game there. And from there, graduated from print modeling to actual runway modeling, and I was a.
Oh wow, that was nice. Okay.
Student of a charm school out there in Chicago that's now closed, but it was a really sort of big charm school back then that produced a lot of models out of Chicago, and so it was really that turning point that sort of set the acting bug. Sort of on the runway, it's a little bit more, obviously showy than on print. And I was actually at a show in New York for, I believe it was Tommy Hilfiger or Guess. I think it was actually a Tommy Hilfiger show. And one of the producers of the fashion show was also a producer for the Cosby Show, and that was my first job. And
Oh wow.
Oh wow, yeah. I talked about Cosby Show earlier in this LJPCBM and the last episode. Go check out my reaction video to Wendy. Hard to pronounce the last name, but let's see here. Wendy Cholo. Okay, let's continue on. Anyway.
That was literally it. They plugged me right from there. And I started at 3.5 and been acting ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then you later went on to do Charlie.
Yeah. I mean, that was, I had done those, I believe Charlie was my second or third voice, and I was around 11 years old, 11, 12, somewhere in there. AJ being also in there around that same age. I started them around the same time, but I was doing more Clifford, and then I think right after Clifford ended, that's when Fairly Odd Parents really picked up, and I did that for 16 years. So
Wow.
Yeah, you did the voices for the video game. I remember playing Wreck-It Ralph on the GameCube.
yeah, that was such a good game. I got that.
And it is such a good game.
They sent it to me, and I had a GameCube. I was so excited. I was like, that was one of the first times I had, seen myself in a video game, and I'm a gamer since birth, I feel, and so it was.
Wow. And so sad that the gamers will no longer be playing physical disc anymore, because I'm taping this right now, no to be at the moment, because I saw this meme stating that there's no longer they're going to get rid of PlayStation, Xbox. So we're going to talk about that in the live stream on Sunday. I'm taping this on the 10th, and I'm planning on releasing this on the 12th, which is today. But tonight at 7:45 p.m. But check out on YouTube. But for your local listings. Anyway, let's continue on.
Me, that sort of meshing of passions, where you're like, you have this part of you that you love to do and you love to act, but you also love to play video games, and then having those worlds meet is really cool. So that wasn't my last one, which I'm thankful for.
Video game crash, and that's what Remix told me, because earlier this past week he said to me, there is a video game crash thing that's going on, like holy crap. I'm like, seriously? Yeah, various questions by ladies and gentlemen, but this is just odd, you know? Thankfully, Nintendo was not affected, but PlayStation, Xbox, yeah, they have been affected, you know? So there you go. Anyway, let's continue on.
Yeah.
So how did you? Oh, go ahead, Jake.
Of course, Chris.
So how did you get the role of Nelson for Even Stevens?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because I had done a Disney workshop, and out here in LA, sometimes the big networks will hold sort of a eyes-only workshop for their inline producers and directors and writers. And it's basically like a hodgepodge of, actors, up-and-coming actors, and writers, and they put them all together. They write, some scripts and stuff, and they do skits, and they have the producers sort of sign off and say, oh, maybe this is, something that could be a good show idea. And obviously, they take the actors that are from, those workshops and really sort of get that going. So, yeah, I was doing a workshop, and Even Stevens was already going, and they sort of plugged me from that.
Good.
That's awesome.
And he also did a movie.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the movie. Yes, the movie was cool.
Yeah, this is our original movie one. Even though I talk about it and they told me that I saw the movie bits and pieces, that was it for me. But, that's my case. Continue on. Anyway.
One of my all-time favorite Even Stevens episodes is the musical episode. What was that like? Doing the musical
man, the musical episode was actually insane. We rehearsed for so long, and it was like one of those things where it was like, man, when it comes down to the dance stuff, I was totally there. I was, been a dancer for practically all my life as well, but I was not used to the singing, so it was that.
This happened to Pepper Ann when they did a musical episode. I done air on LJPCBM on my Rumble account many times, but and it been stuck with me ever since. I did watch Disney Plus at one point while watching the PBS NewsHour, and while Julie Walter did an interview of somebody. I don't remember her name at one point, but she said to me, in this interview, and I don't remember the time, but it just happens, but I think it was basically, it was probably during the Enough song, when it happened, Pepper Ann episode, You All Be in Musicals. Then I was just watching that, and then when Julie interviewed, I was just watching this NewsHour on the YouTube side, and Pepper Ann on the Disney Plus side on the TV. So I'm just doing that, combining that one. So there you go. Anyway, that was just my theory on what's been going on with that. It happened during season 1, Pepper Ann, at one stage, and up until the very end of Pepper Ann, it should happen while I was watching PBS NewsHour with Julie Woodruff at the time anchoring the news. So there you go. Let's continue on.
A huge thing, but it was so funny because with the recording of all of that, I pitched my voice weird and stuff, so it came out really hilarious in the musical. But that was really cool. It was a really fun time.
Yeah, and I know Christy did a new, kind of like a newer version of We Went to the Moon on her.
Yeah, it's on her channel.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I definitely heard about it. Everybody was tagging me and everything, but I haven't watched it yet. I have to.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah,
that was probably my favorite song too. I think out of the group, it was just so catchy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since Quiz's been asking questions about the character you're a part of or your thoughts of that, I can do the same thing too. So what's your experience for being AJ for Vera Parents and Charlie for Clipper?
And Squid for Rocket Power.
Wow. Well, Charlie for Clifford was a really cool experience. I loved Clifford. It's unique in the means that most voiceover projects you don't really record with the whole cast typically, especially if there's a large cast. And Clifford was still to date the only voiceover project that I had the entire cast of each episode in the booth at all times, and we recorded in this huge, almost like this when you see the behind the scenes of like the soundtracks and scores being made to films, and they are in that big orchestra room. Like we recorded in one of those, and it was just literally the whole cast like lined up in a semicircle, and it was the most insane setup for voiceover that I've had.
It happened. Well, two things. One for the funding credits when Gary is the one who said. Funding for this program is provided by the Radio Squadron, the U.S. Department of Education, the Corporation blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, and then just cut up the funding. I was only 5 when I first watched the Kicks funding program, and it turned out to be Gary returning the thing saying, "And by competition, PBS station viewers like you, thank you," and then cut back in the show saying, and then when and in the show. But anyway, that's the whole point. Long story short, but yeah, and 2, I was playing a game on PC called Clifford's Learning Activities. I was wondering if Gary did the voice of Charlie in Clifford's Learning Activities or not, but comment down below if he doesn't. If he did, let me know in the comments. Just tell me. Continue on.
But it was such a crazy energy to have every single person there at one time. So that was really cool just to be there. And I was also the youngest cast member by far, by 20 years. And so to be there, with legends like John Ritter and, Kel Mitchell and,
the late John Lehrer. And then Kel Mitchell from Keenan and Kel, but yeah, and go check out my gameplay of Orange Pop. So where we get a chance, continue on.
Ray Delisle, and just voiceover giants, Kevin Michael Richardson. I mean, it was just insane. So yeah, it was a really great time. Rocket Power was great. It was my first voiceover ever. Mm-hmm. Sam was my first character that I ever dreamt of, thought of. It will always hold a special place in my heart. And it was really cool to actually be voicing a character of children with other children, because that's also rare in voiceover. You usually have a lot of adults who are playing way younger. So, the cast of Rocket Power that were kids, we were actually kids. And so that was really cool to be there. And Rocket Power was also special because I actually had previously worked with the person who voiced Otto.
To be honest with you, I have adults playing kids because I saw this as a kid growing up, watching the Weekenders on Toon Disney and recording them on tape. It was a great show, but along with Pepper Ann has adults playing kids, but it just felt exactly what I was watching. But for kids playing kids, like Rocket Power, I never even record that. It was on Nick Gaz and Nicktoons in the time, but especially Nickelodeon. But I'm missing out. Parts of that I miss out, but I never get a chance to watch it again after 2002 until 2008 is where I get back in the swing of things with Rocket Power, because I was just trying to figure out what to do next with Rocket Power to watch it. And then I felt, after a few attempts, I'm not going to be able to record and watch it again. This is not for me. And then years went on. Let's say this year, June of 2026, I figure, I was watching one episode of Rocket Power, or 2, or 3, or 4, and they're very all catchy to me. and that's why I have to delete Rocket Power altogether. So that might be your answer to your question anyway. Anyway, let's continue on.
Joseph Ashton, and we had done a film together. So to sort of do the film and then come right off of the film and then lead the show together was also insane. It was really cool. And then Fairly Odd Parents. I mean, there's nothing you can say about working somewhere for 16 years. I think it speaks for itself, and the fact that it's lasted that long, the fact that you've had so many amazing people work on it and through it, and it's just probably the single most the best voiceover experience I've had, just in working with people and stretching myself as a voiceover actor and learning from people. That show also features amazing giants, Carlos off of Reno 911 fame, who plays Mr. Carter, and Gray Delisle again, Tara Strong, obviously. It's just
Gray Leno, the host of Tonight Show with Jay Leno, great commentator. But Tara Strong, great voice actress. She even wished me happy birthday multiple times, and I said thank you for being a great voice actress in my childhood. And she liked my comment. Eventually, immediately. Continue on.
Be a person that's, admittedly not the normal person you'd see in voiceover. I'm not only young, but I'm a male, I'm Black, and it's like to have all of those things and to be able to sit in that space and learn and grow is just, it's been a great time. So, I can't complain.
Butch Hartman. Darren
I met Butch when I was 12 years old, and I will always commend Butch because I took over the role, for someone, for AJ, and to have a kid come in and to really explain to him, what you needed, and he really sort of ushered, me through things and allowed me to be a kid, but also, make sure that I was growing, as a professional, and taught me so many things about just even just animation, in general, me now producing, animation and, making sure that I'm doing the same things and following the same paths as, the greats has been awesome. So,
I can imagine all the time. Darren is how funny he is, aka Cosmo.
Oh, he's insane. He's I mean, most of the time with Fairly Odd Parents, if you can imagine, like I said, with Clifford, you have the whole cast in there recording every episode. It took us maybe 3 hours each episode, and with Fairly Odd Parents, you had only like 4 people in there at a time, but it still took us about 3 hours each episode. Between Butch, being a nutcase, and between, Tara cracking jokes at him, and me and Darren going at each other, and laughing and making fart noises, and Gray rolling her eyes at us. It was chaos every single time. And like that's what I mean by just to imagine, working at a place where the environment, a kid, like I said, I was started at 12, and for me to basically go through, high school and college, working on that show, it's so weird to, the normal jobs, a kid would hold. And I also had those while going to, every week to, to Nickelodeon Studios every Thursday and recording with this, awesome cast. So, like I said, I had a fire life, and I can't be mad.
I can imagine, because the Fairly Odd Parents show started off as 3 shorts I remember right, and then it became a series.
Yeah. I mean, Butch grew that out of nothing. Like he had initially really pitched that as something that was very small for Nickelodeon, and it just grew to be such a staple in their
one of the biggest shows.
I mean,
it was a cartoons, and then Chalks and Wills and that.
Yeah. So I have to say that we talk about it so much, but not just like shows in general that we talk about a lot, but for Clifford itself, like they give so much respect to John and we're up there, because I think onto the show. We remember him.
And everything that you hear about him is true. He was the sweetest guy. Never never had an issue working. You never have a stressful condition, and in voiceover, it's not really such a stressful environment. It's way less stressful than being on camera, that's for sure. Usually my voiceover stuff is way more laid back, but at the same time, we're all actors, we're all professionals. There's bound to be times where we might not be having a good day. John was never someone that I saw show that, and yeah, he was the sweetest guy, and a really great actor, on top of all of that. And
exactly, because you think he was a great actor. I mean, what charm in the career of the show, but it was a great career. The Very Odd Parents. No, he did that, but he also did like What We Do, Day Found. Because I have seen it as a kid, but I thought, nah, I'm not gonna watch it again. After I was a college student, dropped out, never gonna be able to watch Day Fam again. But I did, however. I was watching 2 more shows from that time, Tough Puppy and Bear and the Beast. I'm like, okay, that's already catchy shows, but okay, let's continue on. Anyway.
It's crazy that you feel like when you listen to Clifford, that OG Clifford, it's like it's a weird, and no disrespect to the person who voices Clifford now, but it's one of those things like John Ritter had such a lock on the feel of that voice.
Yeah, John Jacob Gyllenhaal. Oh yeah, joking. No, it's John Ritter. Okay, yeah, God rest his soul. Anyway.
And I think growing up and watching it while I was on it, it was one of those things where it's like, man, that's the voice that you think of when you see this drawing of this dog. It's like, man, that feels like a hug.
Yeah, right. Do you have any thoughts about like the reboot? If you heard about that?
The one that the animated show that's on, or the film?
Yes.
The show, I've definitely seen a couple of episodes, and just in background, and I like I said, I love it. I think it's for a new generation. It's one of those things that we have to kind of remind ourselves that it's not for us, even though we may have started with this property, we may be looking for something in it that we're tying to, years and years prior, and there's completely new people that are watching this, and I think for that, and for the generation that is watching it, it fits. It's perfect. I think the film has had that weird sort of shadow over it with delays and who's who and should they do a live action and all the talk around it. So it's unfortunate that you have that sort of stigma, but I think everybody should give those kinds of things a chance. All reboots aren't bad, and everything needs to have its own time, and just its own audience and all that kind of thing. So yeah.
And I've seen like bits of Clifford's reboot from 2019 to 2021. I'm like, when I saw that theme song where Emily was singing, I love Clifford, I'm like, what the hell is this? Excuse my language, but are you kidding me? That's not the Clifford I really love. Like, seriously. I haven't seen this in years, but what am I watching here? I have not seen the reboot in years, but I'll get back in a chance to get back to watch it after the original and the Puppy days. Those are the shows I liked as a kid, and the whole experience saying that's what we love to do. Everything is excuse me, I spelled it wrong. But anyway, that's what Clifford's big idea for the day is. Sharing. Or that's what Clifford's big idea for the day is taking turns. Stuff like that, Because I remember as a kid when Clifford and the small puppy and all of that and and by season 1 they have done, and Melissa would have a brave narration, have this thing pop out of nowhere, thing like that. But by season 2, and of course 1 and 2 of Clifford's Puppy Days, they just narrated Emily's voice for no reason. I'm like, what happened here? I'm like, they had to show that. Say, that's a Clippers big idea for the day, blah, 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 and with no pop-up Emily Elizabeth. Wait, seriously? I want to not show that. I want to see Emily Elizabeth pop up again, not have an idea look like this, and now I'm more easier. So I remember as a kid, as a mid-2000s kid, well, early 2000s kid, watching this, and watching the whole thing, say like, it's mine, things like that. But yeah, I really grew up with that, and then all of a sudden, come season 2, when it has a narration line, I'm out of ideas, because I'm totally out of luck. But I do like say like about after, let's say, I can't remember how many years later, but say 17 years after Clifford's Puppy Days first got canceled, I met Gray Leslie Griffin. I have met her. I was going to have her as Lord McQuarrie as Weekenders. But this agent of Gray Leslie Griffin told me, you have to choose one character. I'm like, okay. Why not just choose Emily Elizabeth? Because I grew up with PBS. I'm like, okay. And she's like, and Gray's like, oh, Clifford. I'm like, yeah, okay. Because I remember her as Lord of the Weekenders. And she just staying home on the range when the episode, I don't know when the episode's called for the Weekenders. Sorry to get off track for this episode, but Gray Leslie Griffin, Gary LeRoi Gray, but I'll continue with this in a moment. But I think Gray signed my autograph, because I remember this at MobileCon 2023, and then my friend Zachary Nola has taken a picture, and does all Scooby, and Gray does her old Daphne voice, because I think Zachary did a great job as Clifford. If Zachary Nola's watching this right now, it's for you guys, but yeah. Anyway, let's continue on.
Yeah, because Clifford is a kid's show, so it's
Right.
There's two specials I want to talk about for Fairy Pirates, and I know somebody out there wants to know. Hold on. How did you like the movie and episode of Channel Chaser, which was where they went into TV?
Wait, say that again?
How did you like doing the episode of movie Channel Chaser?
Oh, yeah. Movie Channel Chasers was cool. I remember coming into it and Butch explaining the whole thing. And I mean, Butch was one of those people who I feel like sometimes explained the ideas because he felt like they were insane. It's we're sitting here and we're like, no, this is cool. What are you talking about? So it's funny. I have so many episodes that you sit there and you look back and you see how not influential, but just how ahead of the time they were as far as just concept and just coolness. And you look at, episodes of television with cartoons and stuff even another show that Butch worked on, Danny Phantom, and you see concepts.
Yeah. I was going to mention that too, but yeah, I know it's kind of odd to say it, but I don't know what to do. Continue on.
And you see the influence and you're like, man, Fairly Odd Parents was really on it with stuff like that. It's just one of those iconic episodes. They're very much even the crossover episode with Jimmy Neutron.
I talk about this. I remember one time in May 2004, there's a bit I was watching about Jimmy Terry Powell. I was a little kid. Let's say, I was almost 9 when that first happened on TV, and my mom's recording some 2 Disney content at the time, channel, and when it first came out, to the Jimmy Timmy Powell thing, and I haven't get a chance to watch it because I was at my dad's house doing nothing, probably because I was busy and doing my own thing, like boys will be boys thing. But it's just happened. But I was only 9, but almost 9, like 8.5, doing my own personal thing. But and by the time I hit 9, I got a DVD player, and that's why I got the first 3 DVDs. Soccer Dog, the movie. Then there's SpongeBob DVD, and then finally, Buzz Lightyear Star Command: The Adventure Begins DVD. That's all I got. So yeah, but back on track. What I was trying to say about the Jimmy Terry Power for a moment. In 2006, they aired 2 and 3. My brother's over there watching the 2. I was watching 3. By that time, I was going to make Home Movie Power Hour the next month, the month afterwards, and the Legacy of Jimmy Terry Power Hour, the crossover, the spoof of that. So that was about. I did 2 Jimmy Terry. No. I did 2 Home Movie Power Hours of that stage. So that was rare. One of this Home Movie Power Hour videos was rare until 2025, because I found the right footage about this Home Movie Power Hour movies, and I had to put it on YouTube for everyone to see, like February 24th, 2026. So I have to do it anyway. Home Movie Power Hour 2, on the other hand, was rare to find till around 2010, late 2010s, because I had found it immediately, so I didn't label it at the time and get it uploaded on YouTube. So there you go. Anyway, let's continue on.
I think we were going to bring up
there wasn't really many shows doing stuff like that back then.
Yeah.
It was really unheard of. So I think that Butch, like I said, is just one of those guys who's just mad scientist, and it just really paid off.
And there was a really good song in Channel Treasure, which I don't think fans know about, but they did, especially put it on his channel.
There was a song, you said?
Yeah, there was like a
song a terror sang it.
Wow.
Don't push his channel.
Nice. I have to watch it now.
Thank you so much for that, Wyatt, for him watching after this.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to go watch that now.
Just tell me the same thing. We're talking about making Poppy watch it.
Sweet.
So, do you have a favorite episode that you're part of shows that you've been talking about, like Clifford, Our Parents, and everything? Do you have a favorite episode that you're part of?
Well, Fairly Odd, Jimmy Neutron, just the experience. It was a big deal, we got, sort of clued in on it, weeks and weeks before. So we knew that it was going to be, a big deal. And having the cast of Jimmy Neutron in the booth with us, was just really cool, and just having that sort of mesh, and then finally sort of, they added more mics, that was a time, where it was like, okay, now we have more than 4 people in here at a time, and even that was just really cool. And like I said, we were a particularly, energetic group, to put it mildly.
Now, about the Jimmy Neutron Power, I just said this before, the trilogy. Now, I talked about this earlier, and it just come to my head watching this on TV, and I didn't get a chance to watch the first one, but the second one was my brother, and the third one it was me watching the whole thing from beginning to end, from when it first came on TV. So, problem solved. Continue. Excuse me. Anyway, continue on.
So, having another cast that probably has their own inside jokes and their own, craziness when they record, sort of mesh their sort of lives with us for that moment was really cool.
Especially Jeffrey Garcia.
Yeah.
God rest Jeff Garcia's soul, because he voiced Shane in this Jimmy Neutron series and movies and franchise like Planet Shane because we all do miss Japs Garcia because and the fact that he's no longer with us, his voice of Shane will live on forever. Continue on.
In the future.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would definitely be cool. I think that Rocket Power, man. I don't know. Rocket Power was cool. Like I said, Squid holds a special place in my heart because I feel like he really represented me, the sort of nerd that's into athletics and like kind of like sort of always like gets people looking at him like, should I pick this guy? I don't think so, but it's actually kind of decent. Like, you know, I can hold my own, you know.
Wow.
So it's weird, you know. I really sort of every episode was such a journey, and then also being the age practically of the character, you know, it really spoke, you know, to me that. At the time with Fairly Odd Parents, yeah, I started AJ around the same age, but as I grew older, obviously, you know, I'm older and I'm voicing a child, you know, whereas with Rocket Power, I was a kid voicing a kid, you know, at all times. It felt like we grew in school together, you know, so every episode really of Rocket Power was just memorable and exciting. And like I said, recording with my friends every day, you know, these are people that as kids, you know, you work with someone 2 days out of the week. I mean, that's your best friend practically, you know, so, you know, no matter whether you're going to school or not. So we all were just very, very close. And and it was a really good time. And Clifford, man, I remember actually a special episode with Clifford. It was actually an episode that had really nothing to do with Clifford. And I know that sounds bad, but we were recording in a space in Burbank, and in this space they had sort of multiple recording studios there. And at this particular episode, I walked out, did my part, and our next booth over was recording Metal Gear Solid. David Hayter walked out. And again, I'm a gamer, so I was just like, and, you know, like literally.
Yeah, post-credit things for you, ladies and gentlemen. T1 anyway.
Some solid things right there in front of me, and so I freaked out. It was one of those things like, man, if I hadn't have been an actor on Clifford, I never would have, you know, crossed paths with this person. And then to work with him later on, you know, was insane. You know, I won the National Screenwriters Championship when I was 16 out here in LA.
Wow.
And one of the prizes was to be mentored by a working screenwriter, and he was my mentor. So so yeah, it was just, you know, just a crazy series of events. So that's always something I'm going to remember about that day. But
there was a show that you guest starred that we didn't bring up yet, but you guest starred in an episode of Samurai Jack. How was that?
I had a feeling, man, Samurai Jack is so cool.
Fans was the first time.
I only
Roger Lucas Bradley, Samurai Jack for you. Continue on.
did like a couple of lines, but I was so geeked. I was so excited.
It's
like,
still going on, I believe.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't care what I'm doing. I'm just going to be able to say I worked on it. Yeah, I mean, I did a couple of lines, and I was alone in the booth. Unfortunately, didn't record with the cast. But again, it's just really cool to be able to say that I was still a part of such iconic shows, and you know, and no matter what capacity, it's just really cool to be like, yeah, you know, Samurai Jack had a part of that. You know, so with the evil, with the pigs and stuff, like it's like, man, whenever we saw evil pigs in those
Love the pigs, man. Continue on anyway.
episodes, that was me.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And it's still going on.
Yeah, they definitely rerun the episodes quite a bit.
Yeah, they rebooted it, I believe.
I'm the most upset
they
that
did
I
like
think
a
they
reboot.
are.
Yeah. No, what about Even Stevens? Like, what are some of your other favorites? Of course, like the musical, but
The musical episode definitely sticks out for sure. I really did like the episode where I got stuffed in the locker. Because that just like having that whole, you know, scene and everything. And
I gotta stand up. Ugh. Sorry about that, everyone. Pretend you didn't see that. Anyway, back to the episode of LJPCBM. Anyway, let's continue on.
Just being able to play that bit of comedy, you know, as an actor, you always want to, you know, have scenes that come about that people remember. You know, you think about stuff like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, even just off the top of my head, you know, there's so many things, or Breakfast Club, or, you know, Risky Business. Tom Cruise having that iconic slide across the screen, like no one's ever going to be able to top that when it comes to just that moment. It's always going to be duplicated and imitated. It's not going to be redone. That's an insane thing, and to, you know, just to have that, or like even actually, you know what, I totally forgot. Rocket Power, Sand and the Potato Salad. How can I forget? But like stuff like that, you know, it's just really cool to be a part of. But yeah, even Stevens, the musical episode and that locker bit, you know, just being able to play that bit of comedy and people be like, oh my gosh, I remember when you got stuck there. And if you remember, there was a point where like my arm was like kind of like back behind my head.
Wow.
Yes. The funny thing was that it was like a wedgie episode, I believe.
Yeah.
And that actually was not in the script. That was written in because at the time, can't do it anymore because, you know, you get old. But at the time, I had gotten in a fight in school, and I had dislocated my shoulder. And the weird thing was that the way that it healed is where like I could sort of pop it out like at any time, and it didn't hurt. Like the ligament that like controlled the pain was
kind of hurt really bad. Like wow. Continue on. Anyway.
Just gone. So I was just like able to kind of throw it behind my head and, you know, do all sorts of things with it. So on set one day, me and Shia are like trying to like spook all the extras. Our school room was right next to extras holding. So Shia's like, hey, you want to like mess with the extras really quick? Like, let's walk out of our schoolroom and have your arm all crazy, and like we'll act like it got broke, and I'll like scream that we need the hospital and stuff. So we like did it and like freaked out like 30 extras who were supposed to be in the school at the time, and like they're all like, oh my gosh,
that's awesome.
The producers caught wind, and they're like, oh, we have to do this, and next thing I knew, it's written into an episode. So being able to do that, you know, have that sort of, you know, bit of myself, you know, in a really iconic show is really cool.
Yeah, and Shia is amazing. You brought up Shia Lewis is just like
that character. I mean, he was just he was such a genius with it at the time, because he barely had lines written for him. You know, most of the time, a lot of that stuff was improv. You know, we get scripts and his stuff would be blank a lot of the times. For table reads, he'd just throw it out there and the writers would just go with it. So yeah, at the time, he was really, I mean, I can't even imagine that kind of sort of comedy brain that he had, but it was up there.
They have a movie and they're making, what I heard, they're making live action Terror TV series now when they have the movies.
Yeah, I did hear that is in the works, and I mean they had a fairly apparent live action movie already. That was sort of a TV movie.
Well, there's a thing called Fairy Odd Parents: A New Wish, and that one is bad, and I thought people hated it, and I thought I should bring it back, and Paramount Plus just suddenly removed it for no reason, and I thought, what happened here? And I thought the show was better. Like they're only there for 2 seasons, and the show got canceled for no reason. So it's just, I don't remember the name, but they just have 2 kids trying to wish for something for some reason. A New Beginning, yeah, I remember this thing, but yeah, that show for people was awful. But anyway, continue on.
But yeah, it was, you know, it's one of those things with Fairly Odd. I don't know how that works live action yet. That's one of the things. With Clifford, I get a little bit more, because really you just have to worry about Clifford. Everything else can really be sort of finagled to be live action. But I think Fairly Odd is one of those things, like there's certain anime you just can't put that in a live action. There's certain things about this story that it needs animated.
Ladies and gentlemen, because I saw this Instagram post from Chris, who's in the chat while I was in the middle of reacting to a thing on LJPCBM on Jake's Having the Style Show, and there's some stupid comment from people about guest suggestions on the Jake's Having Nostalgia Show thing, and I'm like, really? Do we need to see that? That's not part of the rules of Jake's Having Nostalgia Show Discord server that I was in since 2022 of February 24th. And you had to bring that up? Well, I don't think so. Well, because I was banned once, and then they brought so many Discord servers in for Jake's Having Nostalgia Show for some reason, and I have to create a new one, the Elgin Discord server, because I forgot to do that. But I promise you, I'll do it again. Continue on.
It needs color. It needs brushstrokes on the screen. There's a difference, between us and the way we can express things,
Huge difference, yeah.
It's just unfortunate. But, I think, with CGI and the things that they're doing, and especially with like 3D animation, if it's some sort of blend with that, maybe we can see. But it's going to be difficult and hard, but hopefully they're up to the challenge. We'll see.
They should have had They should have had Charlie come back to the new Clifford as an adult seeker.
Oh my gosh.
That was an awesome movie.
I don't know if you guys saw, but Butch actually posted a "What if AJ and Chester were adults" not too long ago.
I did see
They kind of work because of the Chelsea movie. I remember there was adult AJ and Chester.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah. But the way he drew it, it was like, wow, that's actually how it would be.
Yeah.
That was nice because Butch did the drawing, but it was nice. Anyway.
I had to save the picture because I was like, that's interesting to see how it
We
would
need
be.
to get Butch on because he makes amazing stuff.
Yeah. And then so
Because if you guys put Butch on, and if you guys already did, comment below because I wanted to react to Butch Harmon in the future. Continue on.
because there's so many fan arts of Rocket Power for older. A lot of people are saying Rocket Power should be rebooted to be college age and stuff. And honestly, that's probably
the reason why I prefer Weekenders become revived into a movie because reasons. One, Doug and Candy Lansdale, husband wife. Doug's career behind the Weekenders. He said to me, I asked him a question on the Weekenders Facebook page, and I said, I remember watching recording Weekenders on Tube Disney, and then I agree with this one stage about one point about bringing to the Weekenders to Disney Plus, which is now happening because it happened this past May. We reserve bringing the Weekenders as a full movie because I would like to see Weekenders do a feature-length film because I was gonna have to make Weekenders as a film since it first got canceled because Pepper Ann, one, they have a scrap film. And I'm not kidding you when I say this because I'll show you proof, when I say this because I'll search up you right now. Pepper Ann. And I'm not looking up my address. That's a no-no. Hold on. No. Now I want to get copyright from YouTube. Hang on. Search. There you go. Pepper Ann. And scrap film. Now, in 1999, an animated film based on the series was in development at Walt Disney Television Animation and Walt Disney Pictures, under the name Pepper Ann's Real Adventure. The movie would have been followed Pepper Ann's soccer team being invited in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, as part of an event where they tried to stop a land developed from deforesting the Amazon forest. The movie was scrapped for unknown reasons. However, concept art of the film by animated director Richard Bowman was posted onto eBay in recent years. The most recent piece was posted in July 2024. It is unknown whether or not the film was intended to be theatrical or made for television. And I asked this for a reason, since since earlier this week. Why not have it on Disney Plus? Because it should have been on Disney Plus since and it didn't happen, because I want to have to get this out of the way, because I've been not seeing the movie yet, Pepper Ann's Real Adventure, and it's not on Disney Plus yet. So why not have that on Disney Plus instead of having it in theaters, you know? Because that would be more easier. And if that ever happened, that is a good idea. But for Weekenders movie, that I thought was a good idea. Because, I mean, Doug Kennedy said this in their podcast. Why not just, if Whoopie-Doo on Phineas and Ferb show. But anyway, if they done a movie like this, when I have Weekenders, I'm like, thank you, you know. And I said during the 25th the podcast episode of the Weekenders 25th anniversary episode, just ask questions and things like that. Upload. It was on this. The Instagram page was Chuckafreeze. I'm like, okay, catchy name, because I follow Chuckafreeze on Instagram, and I tag along with Chuckafreeze on here, because I said to Chuckafreeze, and he's on Jason Marston, Greg Wesley's post I did for the first two MoCons, and she said to me, well, thank you for tagging me along to the post. And I said, you're welcome. Looking forward to the 5th MoCon. This is my 5th time doing this. And let's continue on.
Probably the best idea I can think of as far as all of the sort of things that I've done that could possibly be rebooted. I think that Rocket Power is prime for the revival. You know, X sports and, you know, stuff like that is not really as popular or as in the forefront as it was at the time. You know, at the time we had Tony Hawk games, you know, that were taking over, you know, and so now it's a nostalgic thing, it's a retro thing. But I think that if they did it right, and if they really sort of catered to that community would ride for it so hard that it would have no choice but to become popular. You know what I mean? So I think that that's really the cool way that they could go. But we'll see. I might have to just do it myself. We'll see.
You mentioned this.
Yeah, that's cool. I might have to go back and watch Rocket Power now, because it's been a little bit.
Well, it's so funny because there's so much discourse on whether it holds up or not. I think it does. I think it has its own thing. It's its own style. You know, it's much like Our Real Monsters. You know, where it's
Our Real Monsters is amazing.
Yeah, and all those shows are like a very specific time.
Yeah, Klasky is the producer of both Rocket Power, Monsters, Thornberrys,
Rugrats.
They had a lock on that style and that sort of.
And Rugrats. Don't forget about Rugrats, because it was owned by Ari Classy Gabor Shippo. Now, one movie I don't like about Gabor Shippo is the movie. It was based on the book which I remember is at school, which I think it's not for me, because it's about these let's just line up and things like that, blah blah. I don't remember the movie, but it has to do with and I have to connect to the map, but I don't remember the movie. It's a Disney movie and it's a Gabor Shippo, but this is why I hate the movie so much. And it's a weekend before Elgin got started, so should have been going to LJPCBM's award thing instead of this movie. I don't remember the movie's name, but again, this should be going to Razzies instead. You know, and especially Up. You know. Because I want to see Up in the Razzies. You know, that make more sense. Anyway, move on. Next. Oh, before we move on, I can't remember. I can't remember. Anyway, let's move on.
Beat to a different drum type, tone, where it was like none of these shows are like anything else you've seen. Rugrats, I mean, look at it,
Yeah, I was gonna say Rugrats. Oh yeah. Oh, I was gonna say Orange Classic Gabor Shippo. Yeah, those two were the geniuses behind Classic Shippo. And the splat and the graffiti, because the two logos are like, excuse me, a little hiccup there. But anyway, and the rooster from Rugrats Go Wild, that 2003 movie. But anyway, that robot rooster, because I was just trying to say that. And of course, it's kind of huge, but I'm looking forward to that whole thing. So there you go. Besides, Classic Shippo were the type of parts of my childhood. Continue on.
That's also Klasky. So you can't duplicate Klasky Supo animation. It's just not possible.
Exactly. And by the way, sadly, Gabor Shippo and Orange Classic retired now because as of right now, they're replaced by their son Brandon Shippo, and because they are starting production, he started production on work on Classic Shippo work in honor of their legacy, and now divorced couple became friends and still doing and was doing Classic Shippo at the time as CEOs and things like that. Was unfortunate to say this because they're the mom and dad to the two sons. One sadly not here with us. The other one is still here with us because I think the major thing is too is that Brandon, unfortunately to say this, is gonna it's gonna not have a mom and dad, because and Classic Shippo will live on with the son, because I think Brandon Shippo won because he's a genius behind getting back together with the whole Classic Shippo team, because I think Rugrats is a revival from 2021, the reboot from 2021 to the present, because I think at that time range that is still happening, but unfortunately it's just going to get canceled after the first season. So I watched bits of the first season and the shorts of Rugrats. Apparently Rugrats just didn't want to change that. Continue on.
I remember the third movie, Rugrats Go Wild, watching that in theater.
Yeah.
Amazing. The crossover Wild Farmers and Rugrats.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say earlier. The two of them, anyway.
It was just awesome.
Yeah, they were titans in the animation world, at the time, and there's nothing that could be said about their run. It's possibly a lot of people talk about the Hanna-Barbera run,
Yes.
I say that's
Hanna-Barbera. Arthur Rankin Jr., Jules Bass is another example. Disney, yeah, and of course. Yeah, I have to say, and it's not related to animation, but I have to say their names. Robert McNeil and Jim Lair. And these two got me inspired to do film and TV content over the years. Anyway, let's continue on.
only thing that can really sort of, top it and beat it. But when you really look at what Klasky did, I mean, it was not just television. It was everywhere. We had so many elements of Klasky products in everything we did. I mean, there were Burger King and McDonald's toys that had Klasky stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, from
But
plushes.
to have those stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
And Rugrats is back.
I remember one time they do have food items there. cheese nips. I would never have cheese nips without Rocket Power, and they're so delicious. They do have, I remember one time they have macaroni and cheese Hey Arnold. They're also delicious. And macaroni and cheese SpongeBob are also delicious. I grew up with these macaroni and cheese Foulet and the Nickelodeon. They're also delicious. Continue on anyway.
Which is awesome.
Right, and in a different, but they use mostly the same cast, which is what I love about it. A lot of people have a lot to say about the Powerpuff Girls, and what they do.
Yeah, exactly, Powerpuff Girls, and of course, the shows like, for example, Johnny Bravo's another one of them. Of course, Courage Chowy Dog, Chow Chicken, so on, but. Another show I don't like, and don't get me started on this one, Ed. I'm like, this show sucks. I'm sorry for everyone who likes it, but for me, it's not my thing. Continue on. Anyway.
And that's and it's. I feel like there's discussions on either side to be made for sure. But I feel like it's one of those things that I feel like you have to listen to the audience. If the audience says we want the originals, then I feel like you have to honor that, or you have to at least listen to that in some kind of way and have their input. And I think that the way that the original cast just didn't know anything about it, kind of weird, but at the same time, a network has to do what they got to do, and that's what they felt was best. So we'll see. But the live action Powerpuff Girls has been.
Oh wow! I have not seen that yet. Yeah, wow! It's just so edgy and scary. It's just. Live action Powerpuff Girls. I saw bits of it on TV. It's just like, wow. It just didn't know what to do next. What is the release date of this? October 25th. Wow. Of 2021. But anyway, because I was taping this on the 10th, and this is not going to be released on, probably the belated anniversary gift for Jay, because he's celebrating the 5th anniversary of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, and I'm doing my best I can. I'm going to release either 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know yet, but I'm going to do it right after I'm going to get ready to finish off the concert. Depending how I feel. Continue on.
But I've heard some things about it.
Well, you haven't seen it because they pulled the plug. They literally were about to release it, and then the network scrapped everything and pulled the plug, and they said that they were going to reshoot everything. And so that's what they're doing now. So it's just so odd to have those things, really sort of in the limelight, in the forefront. It's like, how do you expect people to really sort of want to watch it after all of these kinds of sort of weird delays and stuff happen? It's kind of odd that it's all out there for everybody to see. But it's unfortunate in the social media age that we're in, but that's what we have to do.
We know they brought Danny Phantom back in the new Fall game. It'd be cool to see if they had rock characters back in another game like that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And video games are such a space where it doesn't matter. It's like,
oh god, what? That show. Well, it's not for me. Well, bits and pieces for me, but I'll get back in a chance to watch it. We'll see what happens. Continue on.
They can come back at any time, with Brawl. It's really cool because those kinds of games afford so many opportunities with crossover type stuff, and you see it even in I think like Genshin Impact, and crossing over with characters from Sony, and stuff like that. There's so many opportunities for especially major properties that are really sort of retro like that, where you have that sort of iconic image, and you just tie it to something that it has to deal with. So in my eyes, the next sort of awesome skate game, I feel like you should have that sort of DLC where it's like, download this animated kid, these animated characters or skins from Rocket Power. That would be so cool.
That would be
awesome. That would be awesome.
And there was a Rocket Power movie, if I'm right.
Yes, we did do a film. I believe it was called Escape or Race to New Zealand. That's what it was. Race to New Zealand.
Yes.
Racing New Zealand. And awesome opportunity. You know, we recorded that like any episode. So at the time, it really didn't click. I'm like, ooh, this is a film. Because we were just in the booth for longer. I'm a kid. I just like, I just show up, I don't care. But it was really awesome after, you know, and I have a huge movie size poster of Race to New Zealand in storage, so it's really cool and signed by everybody. So, you know, all that.
That was nice. That was nice. Anyway, what time is it now? It's 11:11. So, yeah, I might as well wrap it up here before, because I know it's 57% battery life here right now. And I know it's getting too late for me to do it, but once it hits 40 minutes left of the video, I may have to end up getting some sleep, because it's almost, because I may have to do something. Anyway, we might as well end up doing 1,877 beans. That way more easier, because I have no idea. Because I keep pausing for too long. Sorry guys, because I think it'll be so late for me to get some sleep to go to a concert tomorrow. But if I slept for too late, I guess we'll have to wait till first thing in the morning, I guess. Because, let's say, I'll leave here by 9 o'clock. And that'll be amazing. But anyway, let's just continue on.
Stuff, man. All the sort of merchandise and stuff that I have, I'm gonna have to start a gallery or or something, or have it in boxes and cases somewhere, because I have some really cool stuff. I mean, even from Rocket Power, we had bowling shirts made for us. I mean, random stuff like that. I've got a Fairly Odd Parents cash jacket. You know, really cool stuff. So,
wow. Yeah. So before we go to the next question, I'm gonna say this a couple of things. Like, one, it's so, I guess we talked about the Rugrats. It's so crazy that I realize sometimes the more years it come, the more like original kids shows will come back. Like, for example, Blue's Clues and You happened.
Okay. I'll talk more about Blue's Clues and You in an upcoming Blue's Clues Jokes episode number time, which is fantastic. Continue on anyway.
For example,
and it's really good. And like we always on the podcast, there aren't kid shows like that anymore.
Yeah. Coming. The sort of, pull from that era is really cool. Because I feel like it just bridges the gap. You know, we look at Star Wars. You know, a lot of people feel like Star Wars is this new thing, but I'm like, no, you have to understand what Disney was doing. They were looking at something that was made in the 70s and finding out a way to bridge it. You know, years and years, decades later. You know, that's an impossible feat. And say what you want about the last couple films and everything, but to at least have any sort of modicum of success with it is still insane, it's just wild.
New like a video before it coming next year.
A lot of these sort of properties that come back, especially the kids shows, I think that there's always going to be new kids. There's no shortage of kids coming. So if you bring it back and you do it right and it honors what happened, then I think that there's no way that you can really go wrong with kids shows, coming back. Something to be said about, maybe adult episodic dramas. You don't want to, keep rebooting, a certain show or, a certain property. But I think with kids shows, it's all about education and learning, right? So there's no real wrong way that you can sort of teach kids how to live life. You know what I mean? Once you get into the older ages of art and you start sort of seeing how art takes shape and it starts sort of reminiscing you about adult life and it's not teaching you anything anymore, it's relating to you, then you have to make the difference and make the judgment call. But I think as long as that sort of tone of children's shows is there, then reboot to your heart's content, because a new kid is going to find something valuable with it.
Okay.
Yeah, talk about bring stuff back. They brought back the original like Scooby-Doo thing where they had guest stars for his new series. And it was actually good. I haven't seen any other. But
I just want to say Scooby-Doo earlier. What was it? No, closed caption. Turn the closed caption on. Okay.
Talk about bring stuff back. They brought back the original like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I was going to say Scooby-Doo earlier. Anyway, let's continue on. Listen.
Thing where they had guest stars for his new series. I mean, it was actually good. I haven't seen any of it, but I know fans love it.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything of it either. But Scooby-Doo is one of those things that is always going to be a staple in my house. I was like, I just like throw it on just to clean the house or something like that to have in the background.
Like they have live action movies.
Oh yeah, plenty. I mean, that's another thing that a lot of people don't realize how deep the influence of Scooby-Doo runs. And
there's a thing too called and I won't watch it because there's a racist Velma. Thank God they cancel it because they're not gonna do it anymore because they just people criticize the racist Velma and think that she is how you want to call it, but it's just not right for people who think that Velma is I'm not gonna say it, but and people thought she was racist, and I'm like, what? You think Velma would act like that? I don't think so, and people thought, thank God the show was canceled. And that was the same reaction about that, So, by then on, Velma, I'm not going to say what it was, is canceled, because they had backlash with the show. But, anyway, continue on.
I mean, even in the horror community, it's so crazy, like there are literal horror groups who really sort of idolize Scooby-Doo and what it does for horror and animation. And I didn't even know that until very recently. And just, a lot of fans really respect that series and, all that stuff. So it's really cool. And just think of the Halloween costumes that come from Scooby-Doo.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Wow. That was exciting. Oh man, I'm getting a little sleepy here, and with that, I'm gonna have to wrap up this episode 1877A. I'm sorry that it took me so long to react to Jake's Having the Style Show 12, but we gotta react to it. We have to react to it next time because it's like nearly a decade ago when I react to episode 1A, 1B, and 1C. Yeah, this will be a little different. Just like I did back when I was doing 1077 and when I had a 1A and B. Well, this will happen again 4 years later. So, I might as well get a little tired now. So, with that in mind, I'm going to have to wrap it up here. So, that was episode 1877A. I hope you enjoy it. Stay next going to be the final conclusion of 1877B. Jake's Having the Style Show. Episode 12, Gary, LeRoi, Gray. Episode 12, voice actor, part 2. Final, because I'm getting a little sleepy right now. I'm getting tired, and plus it's almost 11:30 as I'm taping this right now. So we might as well finish it off when I get to the hotel. So I'm sorry that couldn't happen. So I'll continue to react to this as soon as I get to the hotel in time. But for right now, I need some sleep. So there you go. Hope you had a good night, and we'll finish off 43 minutes and 30 seconds off right after we get to the hotel in time. But anyway, until next time, Sujabber saying goodbye. To be continued. Hope you understand how I feel. We'll have more LJPCBM reacts for you guys the next day. Till then, the Jabber saying to be continued. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given the time I failed to really understand it. I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening. But I tried all the time. Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question and the giver holds the key, but the only worth I've ever found was in melody. I still try